All right. Thank you, everybody. This is Production Readiness sub-project of SIG Architecture meeting for May 6th, 2020. And we have a blessedly short agenda, I think. So a few things I wanted to talk about. Did update the CAP template based on, I guess I wrote last week, but 2 weeks ago, feedback, and that's in its lazy consensus timeout now. So if nobody complains about it, then we should merge that tomorrow at noon. I don't think we're going to get any complaints because I think it was one comment and Wojciech handled it. There were a few, there are a couple little things that literally discussing in the 10 minutes before this meeting around some of the metadata and kept.yaml that we might tweak a little bit. But other than that, that's basically done. Two other PRs need review. One is 1707, which is where basically phase 2 and where some of that discussion is happening. But maybe we'll add it to a follow-up PR, just let 1620 merge without changes. And then finally, there's just a follow-up PR on that we move the PRR questionnaire out of the community repo and into the KEP template. So that's it. That's all I've got. So I think Wojciech's already reviewing those. David, I don't even know that you already reviewed 1620, and I don't know if you've reviewed 1707. You might want to take a look at it, but it's nothing controversial.
Okay.
So anything you guys have?
Yeah. So it would be helpful to me if you had a query against the enhancement repo to help focus go through, choose a PR from this list and have it fill in that metadata. That's a thing I'm interested in trying to actively do this release, but I don't have that query.
So you want a query based upon who doesn't have the metadata? You want a query based upon who's scheduled for 119? What is exactly your?
So in my perfect world, I would have a query that said these are the things that are targeted for GA and 119 that do not have these things inside the CAP.
Okay.
And I don't know how to, I don't think that's a thing we can do from GitHub, but maybe it is.
No.
And it made me think about Tim's, I hear when CLI tools did this.
Yeah, so we have actually, I mean, this is fine, we can talk about it here. So totally separate now, the enhancements sub-project, which was part of SIG PM, is now in SIG Architecture, and we're actively kind of starting to work on trying to improve this tooling. So definitely that's something we could add. The CAP tooling and some CLIs around it, and basically we put this stuff in the metadata so that we can do that. But you want a query, I'm putting in the agenda. You want a query that allows selecting CAPs targeted for version X that are missing our metadata, basically, needed for their targeted stage. Yeah, so we're trying to capture enough metadata. That's the discussion, actually, I mentioned earlier that was going on for the 10 minutes before this call, is how do we put that metadata in on what things are being targeted, and so that would be a useful query. I think we want to have tooling that basically, as you advance a CAP, from provisional to implementable or whatever, it's going to check all of these things. So that's the goal, part of the goal of that. Then queries to discover ones that need review or need this stuff filled out, I think is also super helpful.
Yeah. Is there
heard loud and clear
repo for that, or
What's that?
Is there already a repo for the CLI tool? Like, is the CLI tool started?
There's a KEP now. There's a KEP validation
Okay.
tool that gets run, as the CI,
Okay.
but there's nothing beyond that. But we're starting to talk about that in this other sub project. So
I think that'll be useful for us to spend at least a little bit of time figuring out. I'm just thinking about, like, practically, how do we do what it is we want to do? And I think we need the ability to find them, because there's a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, so what we need to do is, I think Stephen might have a cap about that out there already.
Okay.
It starts to define, but we need to put down all those use cases. So this will be one use case. Other use cases is what we were trying to do with the KEP reading group. Like, let's try and discover things that are what? What are the criteria and how do you flag those? I don't know. But like, discoverability and the management of these things is really hard. And anything we can do to make that better, I think, is good.
Okay.
I agree. So yeah, I mean, I'll be sure to tag you on anything as we move forward, so you can.
I would appreciate a Slack message or something in maybe the PRR channel, because I'm not, GitHub notifications don't work super well for me anymore.
I hear you. Yeah.
How many, do we know enough to know how many reviews we need to average between now and 2 weeks from now to actually go through? Because that's another thing that I'd like to actually like.
Well, I can tell you. So you let me.
Just because, like, next release, when we go and say, like, these must be done, we have to have some sense of how many are going to be in the crush, right?
Right. So what are you seeing on my screen now? Do you see?
I still see the agenda on your screen.
The agenda, okay.
And now I see nothing.
Yep, that's what I would expect. And my fan goes crazy when I. This is the spreadsheet that the release team uses. You've probably seen this. Maybe you've seen this before. That tracks all the different caps that are being potentially targeted to 119. But most of these will get swept out of here. But at some point, we will have a list of specific caps, and they should be marked as, part of 119. Now, this doesn't tell us which ones need PRR review. But like, this is, if there's any list anywhere that can give you an idea of that, it's this. But again, it's a little bit. So the enhancements team on the release team, basically we divide up. I'm on this cycle 2. Basically, we divide up these, and then we iterate through and talk to the different authors of each different cap and try to get whether they're planning on delivering something in this coming release or not. And then make sure that if they're planning on delivering something in the release, that they've met certain criteria. This is where we would add a PRR, needs to be in this acceptance criteria, and then that will become part of the enhancements release team to go through and bug people about every single one of those. The question is when? When are we going to require that? These criteria, in order to move to implementable state and sort of be included in the release, those need to be done, like you said, in the next 2 weeks by the people. And what we've said, I think in 1620, is basically, yeah, the PRR needs to be filled out as well as part of that, I believe is what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, we don't actually have to review those. That's not the criteria in 119. That we don't have to review and approve those. They need to fill them out.
Right. I'm just saying that I think as the next natural step, we will want to have them required. And I would like to have some sense of the time commitment and roughly when it would fall, just so that we're mentally prepared for what we're about to do. And so this seems like a good practice run. We could choose a third of these to try to go through. It looked like there were about 150.
Yeah, but most of these aren't going to fall. Like, let's go to 118. Let me find the 118, and we'll see how many actually went in. So what we start with on this list here is like everything that is in the all the issues that are still
all
open.
The issues in the milestone, probably. Okay.
Yeah, and not even just in the milestone, all the issues in the enhancements repo that are still open, and then we go through and hound people to find out whether they should be included in the milestone or not. And so it's a iterative process, right? It takes time. So actually looks like there are about 38 of them that actually made it in. I'm not focused there.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, so those are ones that actually made it into the release in 118. So all those 100 and some, they narrow it down.
Yeah, and we probably don't need to review them before like enhancement freeze. Like we probably want to look into them, but even it's not blocking, it's not critical to like be on time here, right?
Okay. So we're expecting our flow then to be like when did you know you had these 38? Was that at enhancement freeze time, John? Like I wasn't there for 118 doing this.
By enhancement freeze, you would have this, yes. Basically, an enhancement freeze, everything has to be tracked. So they go from sharing just tabs.
They go from the previous spreadsheet into this spreadsheet, and then we can drive them down from here. That looks a lot much more manageable.
It's the same spreadsheet, but basically, yeah, they go. The status goes from like it can be pending inclusion. Basically, that means we don't know yet. We're gonna bug the people, and either we get no response or we get a response and they say nothing this time. It could be deferred, which means nothing in this release, but the next release maybe. It can be just untracked, meaning we don't know when we're going to deliver it, or it can go to tracked, which means it's part of this release. We're intending on having it in the milestone, and then that's when we sort of actively make sure people meet the code freeze, make sure people meet the docs freeze, et cetera, et cetera. So that would become part of this process.
Do you know where the 119 spreadsheet will be? And since enhancement freeze is
this is the one I will give you the one. I will put it in the agenda.
I think that's a good idea. Would we say that 2 weeks from today, we would like each of us to have gone through at least one cap and look to see whether it answered the questions and come to the meeting with like a summary of they did really bad or they did okay, or something like that?
Sure.
Okay.
You should have access to this. I think it's publicly readable. Go ahead and click on it and see.
Yep, I'm trying to move through now. Yes, I can read it.
Okay. So, so what you'll see is there's some scripts and things. You'll see a bunch of these when occasionally somebody will run the script and it'll pull all these things that say untracked or whatever. They'll just disappear off of here. So any that are green right now, you'll see like, okay, here's, support CRI, containerd on Windows, track graduating, it's graduating to beta, and then there's a bunch of information about
Oh, wow.
it.
I have edit access to this. How do I unget edit access? I'll work that out separately.
You're on the release team at some point.
Okay. Maybe
That would be
it
my
wasn't.
guess. Is that you're
Anyway,
still in-
I will be very careful. Just saying.
Yes, please be careful.
I guess all of us here would have edit access to this then.
Well, if you've ever been on a release team, you'll have access if they never removed you from
Okay.
the release team. Then that would be why. Yeah. So please do be careful. Yes.
I will be. I just wanted to.
We you know, there's audit logs in Sheets, so we'll see it in the
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, part of the reason I intentionally wanted to be in the enhancements team, I was in at 118 and I'm in at 119 as well, was because of the PRR stuff, and I saw it as being part of flowing into this process is it's managing that. So I wanted to make sure that that got integrated properly. That's, you know, part of the reason I'm on this team is to make sure that this becomes part of all right. Anything else? I see Valerie's here. Hey, Val.
I feel like I know what's coming up next and what we're gonna try to do.
Okay. So for next time, we will. Why don't we just in the channel, if you decide you want to review one of these, just grab it and let people know in the channel so people don't do the same one. But like right now, nobody has filled out those things. So part of what I'm going to have to do as part of this team and other people on this team is we're going to start having to hound people before enhancements freeze. So once the 1620 merges tomorrow, then we can start saying, hey, this just merged. It's a new requirement. Please fill this out in your CAP. And so within another week or so, we should have some answers.
Okay. And mechanically, have you thought about whether you would open a PR that had this empty for them, and they would then come in and fill it in, or I guess
no, they just have to. It's part of the CAP YAML. So they'll have to. A lot of these are still going to be in the old CAP format. They're going to have to sort of reformat, take the new template, pull those things in. It's going to be some work for them, but they'll survive.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Yep. Bye-bye.